From the producer of The Crown comes a new series, The Other Boleyn Girl. Watch the trailer. This is the story of King Henry VIII and his desire for a son. You know, the famous king with the many wives, one of whom was Anne Boleyn. But this is not her story. This is the story of her sister, Mary. Oh, no. This is not a period drama. At the time, the king's legitimacy was tied to his ability to produce a son. If he failed, the throne would go to another royal male relative. Now, because his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, could not bear a son, Henry began to look for a new bride. Enter Anne Boleyn, a beautiful young woman who caught the king's eye. He wanted a male heir, and Anne could not give him one. Both Anne and Henry were products of the Renaissance, writes Tucker, and they shared a common intellectual curiosity and love of learning. That doesn't mean, however, that he didn't treat her like garbage sometimes. In fact, he chained her to a chariot like a horse and whipped her as she pulled him around. He also kept her on a leash like a dog when they went hunting. Not only that, but she had miscarried twice and blamed the king for the loss of their children. See, Henry was not exactly Mr. Perfect. In fact, he was quite the opposite. Apart from his looks and hygiene issues, he was also lazy, a big baby, and a tyrant. She was a lady-in-waiting to Queen Catherine, and also the king's. Yeah, things were that complicated. This is a scandal, a tale of betrayal, lust and greed set in 16th century England. Jealous and vindictive, Catherine plotted against Anne, along with the king. They accused Anne of adultery and treason, although there is little evidence to support these charges. But that didn't matter. On May 1536, Anne was arrested and taken to the Tower of London. 2 days later, she was executed on the orders of Henry, who was having an affair with Catherine Howard at the time. Henry VIII is a legendary monarch. Think of him as the original bad boy king. You decide. Tell us in the comments below. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Well, we don't know, but it sure as hell wasn't love. She might have found him repulsive. Henry was short, stocky, and had bad breath. His face was pockmarked, and he had chronic indigestion. So that explains it. While his 6 marriages are common knowledge, his brutality and lust for power are often glossed over. This series promises to put the spotlight back on them. And what better way than through the eyes of a scorned woman? To get Anne's attention, the king did what any modern-day love-struck guy would do. He wrote her tons of love poems and songs. He poured all his affection into them, professing his undying love for her and declaring that she was the only woman he desired. Anne, however, was not impressed. She did not reciprocate his feelings and turned down his marriage proposals flat out. Welcome to my channel. Let's get into the video. Henry VIII was desperate to produce a male heir. Obsessed with Anne, Henry pursued her relentlessly, which made her uncomfortable. What was it with Anne? You wonder. What did she see in the king? Determined to win her over, Henry went to extreme lengths. In fact, he broke away from the Catholic Church, just so he could marry her. The king gave up on God for a woman, or so the legend goes. It took the church less than an hour to annul their marriage. And within days, Henry had married and in secret. When Queen Catherine found out, she refused to accept the marriage. For 2 years, Anne and Henry lived in sin, as they say, while the king got a papal dispensation to marry. Finally, after Catherine's death, Henry and Anne's marriage was recognized. They had a grand ceremony and were crowned king and queen. But their romance was far from a fairy tale. Their marriage remained childless, which made Henry furious. According to historian Susan Tucker, Henry had a lot of female admirers. But he chose to marry Anne because she represented a break from the past. As if that wasn't enough, Anne got on the wrong side of the king's new wife, Catherine Howard. So was it love or obsession?